So I was scrolling on TikTok the other day when I came across this post by a person named 2better_you. They posted a slideshow with an image of Larry Niedermeyer and Richard Watterson in front of a yin and yang symbol, kinda demonstrating the balance they create by their roles in the show. And I'll be honest, I didn't fully read the person's explanation or reasoning for why they thought this way. I just kinda skimmed through every picture, but I still found it interesting nonetheless. And the most interesting image that made me want to make this video was actually the second one, which read, Larry and Richard are two deities that keep the amazing world of Gumball universe running. Now, although neither of these characters are actual gods, they still have the ability to sustain or destroy the world, which comes from their role in society. And then this got me thinking, are they really the two pillars that hold their town together, or is there something else missing? Well, what if it isn't something, but someone? Another character who wasn't addressed in the original post. Another character who also holds an amazing power that can directly affect the town of Elmore, creating a balance not between two people, but three. Another pillar that holds the world together. But before we get into that, I want to go over the other two characters previously mentioned, and their exact role and position in society, and just how greatly they affect their beloved town. We'll start off with Richard Watterson, the father of Gumball, Darwin, and Anais, and the husband of Dr. Watterson. He is a large pink rabbit who spends most of his time watching TV, eating food, and doing other nonsensical activities. And these habits remain pretty consistent for Richard throughout the entire series, never really slowing down at all. In fact, there are actually a few episodes in the cartoon that show what happens when Richard takes one of these activities to the extreme. But it is these extremities that function with the weird town of Elmore. You see, Elmore is a town built to defy logic. Everything is in its own place, and when Elmore feels like it isn't, it changes it, which is why Richard is one of the three pillars. His lazy nature was formed through many years of comfort and pampering, and Elmore knows this. So when he isn't being lazy and overall useless, he indirectly affects the town and its laws of nature. And this is perfectly shown and explored in the episode The Job. In The Job, Nicole is seen waking up after fainting from Richard's shocking news. He got a job as a pizza delivery driver, but Nicole doesn't feel physically and mentally right about this announcement, so she heads inside. And throughout the episode, we see exactly why. One of the first examples we see Nicole try to use to convince Anais that Richard shouldn't have a job is in a family photo where Richard has glowing red eyes and an earth statue behind him with a crack down the middle aligned with his finger. And honestly, you can explain both of these coincidences, but you can't explain what Nicole experiences next. In the kitchen, Nicole turns on the sink to wash a cup, but when Richard drives by their house, the water rises to the ceiling for a moment, so she turns it off. And when she tries to show Anais, it doesn't work anymore. And this Richard cycle continues for the rest of the show. The more he drives around and does his job, the stronger his power gets, slowly increasing over time. At first, he makes the banana family repeat their actions, like they're going back in time or something. Next, he turns the day into night in one specific store he delivered to. Then, he starts making it snow in a certain neighborhood. And lastly, he inverts gravity. So after seeing this, Nicole decides enough is enough. She knows Richard isn't supposed to have a job. So they pick up Larry and start to look for him. Their plan is to convince Larry to fire Richard, and during their journey to find him, they start to feel and see the side effects of being too close to Richard. So to save time, they try to figure out the address he's delivering to so they can cut him off. But they quickly get their answer when they see a huge glowing light shining upon a house. Cars and trucks are floating in the air as he pulls up, and every step he takes creates a different shockwave of uncertainty, affecting everything and everyone in a different way. And when he finally reaches the door and aims for the doorbell, the universe starts to go crazy. His children turn into many different forms at once, and the light in the sky widens, sucking in different vehicles. But just as he's about to hand the customer his meal, Larry confronts Richard for eating the middle of the pizza, and he fires him on the spot. And this immediately overturns the upset nature of the universe, reversing all created hazards. And Richard apologizes to Nicole for getting fired, unaware of the stress and damage he caused. This episode is obviously the best representation of the power Richard holds when he defies reality. It's in his nature to be lazy, to not work. And when he goes against this, it's like he's turning his back on his destiny, turning his back on the world. And this obviously causes some type of disturbance and affects the laws of Elmore. His unpredictable power directly affects the physical reality of Elmore, making Richard easily identified as one of the core pillars to sustain Elmore's safety. The second pillar is Larry Niedermeyer. He is an adult side character of the series who happens to be a rock. But unlike any other rock, Larry is extremely active, working every day in multiple jobs. And I don't mean multiple like 2 or 3, I mean dozens of jobs all over town. He's basically the opposite of Richard. He is a determined, industrious man with many responsibilities. Whether he's working as a cashier, bank teller, or grocery store clerk, Larry is always there. And even though he hates it at times, he still does it, because he kinda has to. I'm pretty sure Larry is aware of the amount of dependency Elmore relies on him. He basically runs the town by himself, with little to no help. So what would happen if he chose to not work anymore? anymore. Well, we see exactly that in the episode The Pizza. In The Pizza, we see the Wattersons walk in the living room after they each experienced a bad day, and with everyone in a bad mood, no one feels like cooking anything to eat, so they decide to order a pizza. And after Richard confirms their very complicated order with Larry, he also rudely yells at him to buy him a toy to accompany his meal and to deliver the pizza in less than 15 minutes. Oh, and he also doesn't tip. And right after their phone call ends, we see this outside their house, which is unusual even for Elmore standards. But the Watterson family doesn't notice anything and they decide to share stories about their day to pass the time after 16 minutes have passed. Nicole is the first to tell them about her day, and she says that when she was on her way to work, her car broke down, and Larry gave her a $100 estimate on the cost to fix it, which upset Nicole so much she ended up damaging her car even more, which changed the price to $750. And her only way to cope with the price of the bill is to take her anger out on the one who helped her, Larry, who is also obliged to ask every customer if they would like to leave a tip. But this just angers her even more. Richard is the second person to talk about his day, and his situation is a bit more unique. Apparently Richard tried to order like 5 cheeseburgers and 3 shakes after eating over 12,000 calories worth of junk food, and Larry refused because he was worried for Richard's health. But you know Richard, he obviously didn't care, so he decided to go crazy on the ice cream machine and condiment bottles, which at least he paid for. But when Larry asked if he would like to leave a tip, Richard made an even bigger mess with the straws. Lastly, Gumball shares the reasons why he and his siblings had a bad day, which starts in the video store, where the 3 Wattersons are complaining about how movie trailers spoil important details about the film, and to express and validate their thoughts, they begin to spoil movie endings in front of the other customers, which obviously upsets them and makes them leave. So Larry steps in and politely confronts them, and after paying for their DVD, Larry, again, asks for a tip, but Gumball takes the tip money instead. So after hearing all of these stories out loud, Anais realizes that Larry is the real victim here, and without his hard work, the town is basically useless, and her point is proven when they take a look outside. So they set out to find Larry in a very apocalyptic version of Elmore, realizing that everybody is either looting, fighting, or destroying something or someone in one way or another. A very dark turn of events that only occurred in under 20 minutes. But soon enough, they are able to find Larry, only after indulging in the town's destructive ways, of course. The Wattersons tell Larry that society collapsed as soon as he resigned, and they apologize for constantly mistreating him, and they finally give him a tip. The pizza does a very clear and good job at showcasing the amount of work Larry puts into his town. So much work and effort that even after 20 minutes, society starts to crumble and people start to panic. I think of Larry as the backbone of Elmore, and as the backbone, he is responsible for the economic stability and town's welfare, and without him, the town will undoubtedly cease to exist within hours. And although he doesn't have godlike powers, he still carries the people of Elmore's lackluster and incompetent habits, which ultimately grounds him as the second pillar of Elmore. But what about the third pillar? The third pillar is another side character who has a lot of emotional control over the actions and feelings of others. But instead of explaining his role in the safety and well-being of Elmore, I'll first quickly go over the episode that highlights his great influence over his town. This episode is titled The Faith, and it jumps straight into it. The Watterson family is seen immediately concerned about the loss of color in their everyday items, including themselves. And this isn't just affecting them, it's affecting everybody. The people, the cars, the streets, they're all turning gray, and no one knows why. So Gumball and Darwin venture out to find the root cause of this problem, and on their way, they come across a part of town that is covered in graffiti, and they can't see anything, so they keep bumping into things, until they bump into a homeless man, who tells them that the kid who used to volunteer to clean the tags has quit. So now with some direction, the brothers continue their journey until a man named Jeff Benson confronts them, steering them away from the upcoming side of town. He explains that the kid who used to do the recycling has given up, and the unrecycled junk has burned a hole in the ozone layer. So Gumball and Darwin use sewer covers to proceed, and their next encounter is with the policewoman who tries to stop them from entering the park, telling them the same thing the other 2 people told them, that the kid who was volunteering there has quit. And with no one else to feed the ducks, they started going wild, attacking everybody. And after another duck attack, the policewoman decides to run away, warning the duo to avoid the zoo because, well, you know why. So Gumball and Darwin decide to take their chances with the ducks and carefully enter the park, and eventually they see the source, a large area with rain that immediately makes anyone who steps in feel miserable. But they both know they must endure and walk through it, and behind all the sadness is a balloon and a tree. Yep, Alan. Alan is the cause of all the town's misery. Alan explains to Gumball and Darwin that he lost all faith in the world because it will never be perfect. Regardless of the amount of work or duties he volunteers for, people will never change. And one of those people is Gumball, who has always resented Alan despite his efforts to befriend him. So Darwin tries to convince Alan that Gumball does like him, but it obviously doesn't work. And Gumball tells Alan that life isn't always going to favor him. And he explains, in a song, that the world is full of dark things like war, people, and diseases. And no matter how much work you put in, it doesn't guarantee that things will work out. So all you can really do is just deal with it. But this answer doesn't quite sit well with Alan, and he asks them why should he change how he's feeling if the world isn't always going to be great. So Gumball and Darwin explain again, in another song, that despite the not so good things about the world, you should still carry hope hope and be happy, to combat all the negative things, and to enjoy every memory shared on this planet. So when the earth starts to break, your hope will be there to help mend it back together. And this cheers Alan up, and the world regains its color, reviving its natural hues all over town. So I think it's like this: if Richard controls the physical structure and Larry the societal structure, then Alan definitely controls the emotional structure of the people in Elmore. As one of the most, if not the most positive character in the show, the Faith demonstrates that Alan's positive and optimistic personality has a direct effect on a lot of different people in more ways than one. The people of Elmore can be weird, but one thing most of them shared was their middle ground of energy. There really isn't a lot of, or at least one specific character, negatively affecting other people. So the most positive person in town begins to lose hope and the will to continue fighting for a better place, then everyone starts looking at things differently, asking themselves, well, if the one person who believes and roots for everybody throws in the towel, then what hope is there for the rest of us? They need his infectious energy to uplift people. He's the emotional balance of the town that keeps people believing. Well guys, it looks like that'll be it for today. I just wanted to go over this topic because it was very interesting to me, and I also linked the original creator's TikTok post in the description below. Anyway, don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Later. And don't forget to check out my other videos as well.